You know, as you ask yourself this question this morning, when am I done regroup? And well, somebody's saying, "Well, look, I'm a student. I'm moving away soon, so I'll be done before others." Well, you may not be. You may be done this particular slice of regroup, but you may still need to be in a meeting elsewhere. Um, and so, my goal, gentlemen, today is to lay out a mental template of what I think needs to be in place before you say, "I'm done. I'm done. I nailed it. I'm good." And yeah, and so that's where we're going. You see, you're part of this group because you desire freedom from this thing that has beat you up for a long time, and I really celebrate that desire for freedom, and everything it brings. It brings integrity before the Lord. It brings a greater sense of self-acceptance. It brings a peace before spouse and family. There's so many good things that come into play when you nail this thing. And so this is the frame of reference that Regroup was created, and you've maybe picked it up from those of you that've been in the group longer. I use the words grit and grace. That I really do want to help you, but I'm not soft on excuse making and poor me and it's different for me, all that game. I'm not soft on that because that's not going to get you anyplace. At the same time, I'll be there, to support and help give perspective when you have a crash. And I'm all in, and yeah, and so, but grit and grace is going to be part of this moving forward. The length of a person's involvement in regroup will have variations dependent upon a person's own level of commitment, because some of you are more committed and aggressive at working through things, and others are, maybe got some issues that they're processing that are slowing them down. Some of it has to do with just some counseling that you're taking on the side to help work through why you're battling, and even trying to figure out what the recovery journey looks like. That's a challenging thing in and of itself. And so, so I want to walk through this with you, and give you my perspective. So Regroup was designed with the following expectations, so that a person would have consistent attendance for the minimum of a year. The idea of people showing up and coming, intermittently for 2 or 3 months. Yeah, I got it. I got this figured out. Well, as well as I know that ain't true. That person is still living in la la land. They're still fooling themselves. I mean, you might get some good ideas and some good handles, and you might be in a period of strength, but there's something about, really, really staying steady with something to make the change. I mean, pick the average of the younger men here that might be married 7 to 10 years. If you take a year of your life and really nail this and get freedom and a sustained God-honoring freedom from the addiction, what a gift for the next 20, 30, 40 years of your marriage, right? Like, what a gift. And so a year commitment of being involved regularly in the group is significant. Number two, it's really important that there's regular and intentional interaction and sharing within the group. You can come to a group and you can do this, you can kind of, and you kind of hide, like you're here, but you're given as little as you can. You don't open up with your struggles. When questions are asked, you never volunteer anything. When I say I want a one-liner for everybody, you say, well, what am I going to say? And you just kind of blow off something, right? If there's the intention to try to be a game here, to be a mask here, and you're not really interacting and sharing, you haven't got it. What I've really respected in the WhatsApp group chat is different times when different ones of you say, hey, listen, I'm having a struggle right now. And just like a feeding frenzy, we all jump in and start encouraging, building, and praying. And I actually pray when someone says, hey, I'm struggling right now. I can pray. I'm walking over here. I'm between sessions. I can pray. And so can you. And so there's something about intentional vulnerability and acknowledgement of issues that is foundational to the group. So being at the group is good, consistent attendance, but secondly, engaged when you're with the group. You've got to be involved and you got to be authentic and willing to share. Everybody understands a relapse and nobody wants to talk about them, but this is the place where we've got to talk about them. And we got to come around and understand and what we got to do different and how we're going to improve. That's the journey for all of us. The next points, these are all, by the way, on your the sheet that I sent you. And by the way, Jack, send me your email address. I don't have yours yet, Jack. Just so on WhatsApp or a text or whatever, send me your email address and I'll send it to you as well. So completion of the 12-step program. And if you're really brave, you finish it in a real detailed way, and then you work it through a second time in a review way. Okay? And so before we're done this, I'm going to ask all of you, what step are you on? I've recorded a spot in my notes here, or in my my record. I just want to keep track of what step you're on. And if there's a change in step, I'll change your number. But I know when I look at, because I keep attendance, who's here and who's not. And so the 12-step program, okay, and finishing the book, The Final Freedom, which is Understanding Addiction. And I would add any other great books along the way as part of your recovery. But we have embraced the 12 Steps of Freedom. And we have embraced the Final Freedom book to read, and then the completion of the 101 Exercises book, that those three would all be complete. And I'm personally on step 5, and I decided to do this process as a sign of solidarity with all of you. And every time I work through this thing, I'm always excited for the 12-step program, because as a pastor all these years, these 12 steps are things I've coached people to do for a long time. They're all based on chapter and verse, and I really like them. So I'm working on that too. And I'm about, out of the 101 exercises, I'm in the mid-40s. So I'm almost half done that book. Number 6 on my list is you got to fully understand addiction, your triggers, and comprehensive recovery strategies. If you don't have figured out how addiction works, what is your liability, and then what is your strategy to face your liabilities, then you're not done. If you feel kind of like a lost sheep out there and I did this, but I don't know where I'm going, there has to be an understanding of addiction, how it pulls you in, what are your triggers, and what's my recovery strategy overall. And of course, doing the 12-step program and all those things, and being in the group and hearing my teaching, for 20 minutes, half hour each week, hopefully that's going to answer that one there. The 7th point out of 10 is that you need to have personal counseling to work through the issues behind or that have happened because of the addiction. So something pushed you into the addiction that needs to be worked through, and some of the collateral damage that has happened because of your addiction needs to be worked through. And you're understanding what I mean. One is what's happened in you that makes you vulnerable to sexual addiction. And then secondly, all the repercussions, the implications of what your addiction has done to your spouse and family and even yourself. And so to whatever level that's needed, and that certainly isn't a forever thing. I'm not in this group to try to keep you all in counseling. That's not the point. Number 8, completely free of acting out, being all clear for 1 full year. So if you don't get to 365 plus and you keep relapsing every 3 to 4 months, well, we got to still work on something, because we're not sending you back to your spouse and family with the idea, well, he's better. He's better. I mean, he used to act out, 3 or 4 times a week. And now it's just kind of every couple of months he's going to screw up. Well, every time that happens, she gets the knife in her chest because of a sense of rejection. And so that's where, that's where we want to see something happening. And so, so being all clear for a year. And all clear as designed and described by my all clear document, which is not soft on addiction. You know that. But I live by the same one, so that's what a free person looks like. Number 9, you need to have restored your marriage relationship in a God-honoring way as much as possible. And I know that some of you are in a very complicated place where you're separated from your wife and she may not want anything, but you see the number one crucible is the test environment. The number one test environment of addiction recovery is working through hurts with your spouse, because she's been hurt the most by it, and really doing your best to make amends and recover there. And so restoring your marital relationship in a God-honoring way as much as is possible is part of the expectation of being in the group. So when we talk about, I struggle with my wife, or my wife and I are having a tough time right now, or pray for me, we're going out together to talk, those things are really important, because this is how we live out our freedom from addiction by the closest people to us. Let me just give you a principle that I operate on in life beyond this context of recovery. But God needs to work in my life in concentric circles. Stay with me. If I took a rock and threw it out in the middle of Mill Lake, the little lake in the middle of Abbotsford, and the minute that rock hits the water, you see something. You see ripples that move out. They ebb out from the point of entry that the rock went into the lake. And ripples, we understand ripples. But what you've got to understand is this whole idea of God working in me. First of all, the ripple starts with God hitting me. He's the solid rock, and he ripples through my life. He changes me. Everything starts to change in me. And then, excuse me, then in concentric circles, God starts changing those in the circles closest me. Beyond God working in me, my next circle is my wife. Then it would be my family. Then it would be extended family and friendships, and then on and on and on. But God works in concentric circles. And so when God really works in me, he's going to work in my primary relationships as well. And this is where you've got to understand that God is on a journey with you, and really is going to mess up, in other words, fix up, but all areas of your life. It's not just, well, I'm working on some things in me. No. It's affecting other people in your world, and you're needing to deal with that as well. So the marriage relationship restored as much as possible. And number 10, the expectation of Regroup is that you will learn to walk deeply and consistently with the Lord in community and in private devotion. So you may not be in Regroup, but there's some other community you're part of, and you're also growing in your own walk with the Lord in a private way. So those are the broad expectations, okay, that I would say would be part of an exit strategy from Regroup. Like, when are you done? That being said, these are the questions that you should ask yourself about your involvement and your attendance at Regroup. And these questions are designed to help you know whether or not you're stable to function without the group being in your life. And so these are good questions to have your accountability partner, your pastor, your counselor, your wife be able to ask you and feel good about. Okay? So first of all, have you met the Regroup criterion above for completing the program? So your wife, your pastor, your accountability partner say, well, did you do these things? And if you go, yes, okay, good. Do you have weekly accountability planned beyond Regroup? So you know what accountability means. You're checking in every day with all clears. and you're on WhatsApp. You meet with people. I meet every Wednesday morning with Larry. I have weekly accountability moving forward. I will never the rest of my life not meet weekly with somebody. It's just too good to keep me on track. So you can't be done with Regroup unless you say, and I'm meeting every week with this guy. And wife goes, I like this guy. Pastor says, I know this guy. And you have a plan that you're meeting regularly with somebody. Thirdly, have you identified your triggers, and have you set up wise boundaries related to your triggers and your liabilities? You've got to understand yourself well. Like, for instance, one guy struggled so much with checking out women at workout places that he said, moving forward, I ain't going to workout places anymore. It's just too much of a challenge. I'm going to find other ways to stay fit. I'll work on my own and that sort of thing. Another guy just said, if I'm not with my wife, I'm not going to certain establishments, bars, restaurants that have, Cleavage Kelly and, Betty Boop there, right? Like, I'm not going to go there. I'm not, unless my wife is there. And even there, there's certain restaurants that it's obviously that the manager said, you got to wear it like this, and just be wise. But you see, there's where you've identified your triggers and what your wise boundaries are. Have you a complete recovery plan for your stability beyond Regroup? So what is your plan moving forward? Regroup is over. You don't have the accountability and what's up with the guys. You're not getting this coaching and challenging. You don't have the support of the group. What does it look like for you moving forward? Yes, we said accountability, but what else is going to be part of it? What are you going to keep doing? And that needs to be said so clear that your spouse, your pastor, your accountability partner, and me says, you got it. I feel good about it. What about your relationship with God? Has your relationship with the Lord grown strong? And is he part of your daily anchoring? So you need to continue to grow stronger. And listen, as I've worked with so many of you men, I see your individual walks with the Lord growing. And we recognize that this addiction is unmanageable. And whether you call it the addiction to porn and sexual addiction, or for me, it's the addiction to sin. I need Jesus because, man, the longer I've been a Christian, the more I see my own sinful nature, my selfishness and stubbornness, criticalness, impatience, judgmentalness. I need Jesus in my life, and I need to be anchored to him. The sixth point of evaluation is your marriage in a healthy and stable place. And, if your wife says, yeah, we're doing so good. This is so different, right? This is great. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but the idea that we're growing, we've worked through issues, right? And then the finishing up of Regroup is going to be dependent upon the agreement and support of spouse, accountability partner, pastor, counselor. If I'm your group leader, you might say, Currie, I've got the program done. I've been obviously 18 months in the group here. Here's my plan moving forward. Sounds good. Love you. Glad you've been in the group, right? And so, and of course, the last question is, have you actually been clean for a full year? And so those are the kind of things that when I think finishing the group, that you can exit with my blessing and hopefully the blessing of those in my group, those in your support network, obviously the support of the guys in the group. But, if you actually were able to do these things, we could do a graduation and actually move forward to that. So this document I sent to you, and it's a place for you to sign and have someone else to sign and witness that you're committed to this. Might be good to have your spouse sign it. Be good for, her to see this, your girlfriend in some cases, you guys. But certainly somebody has to see that you're accountable to do this. And so that's what a wise exit strategy looks like to determine your readiness to stop attending Regroup. And so there's my prayer and my hope that you will take that seriously, and you'll know your target now. And listen, I want you to graduate. I want you to graduate. Okay. I want you to nail these things and be a man of freedom. And so that's where we're at today as far as the teaching.